right. Good afternoon. 40 of you in. If you guys can hear me, can you just let me know in the chat box real fast? Thank you, Claire. Awesome. We're going to wait just a couple of seconds just to see if anybody else jumps in. Where are you all from? I know we're in Colorado. Okay. Loveland, Broomfield. Very nice. Boulder. Highlands Ranch. Okay. Who's having a good week? Awesome. Tired, but my week's been good. Very good to hear. Finals. Are you guys done with finals this week? Nice. Next week, done with finals. Okay. Big essay report to turn in today. Good luck with that, Linda. Very good. Got all A's. Nice. I love it. Let me just try something real fast. Okay. Tom White raised his hand. We're going to get started real quick. Just so you guys have an understanding of how today is going to go. I'm going to talk for just a few minutes. We're going to have a great time. And then at the end of the time, we'll do a short Q&A. So if at any point when I'm speaking, if you all have a question, just go ahead and write that question down and then reference it at the end during that Q&A. And I'll just spend some time with you all if you have any questions, and we can go from there. Does that sound good? Awesome. Just so you all know, my name is Caleb. I'm a speaker with Teen Truth, and I'm so excited to be with you all today. I'm actually coming to you from my home live in Los Angeles, California. And somebody else is jumping in real fast, okay? All right, I think we're good to go. So listen, I know as students that you all have probably had your fair share of different types of assemblies, right? Over the course of your time in school, you've had your fair share of different types of assemblies. But what I need you all to know about today, what you're going to see today, what you're going to hear today, I promise you it's unlike anything you've ever seen or heard before. The truth is, Teen Truth, what I'm going to talk about today, Teen Truth really, it's not just about me. This isn't just my story. In fact, Teen Truth came from students just like you. Teen Truth is your story. And see, at Teen Truth, we believe that your story is so incredibly important. I think we can all agree that we are living in unprecedented times. There's so much happening in our schools, in our communities, in our world. And so much of what is happening, let's get real, you all are the ones that are being affected the most. So much is happening, you all are being affected at the most. And that's why we believe that right now, arguably more than ever before, your story needs to be heard. Your truth needs to be told. And that's what today is all about. And a story that I know you all weren't around for, maybe you've heard it. It did happen in Colorado, and it happened in 1990, and it changed America forever. That's when two students walked onto their campus at Columbine High School with an arsenal of just weapons and explosives. And on that dreadful day, those two students went on to kill 13 innocent classmates and teachers, 13 innocent people. And I remember exactly where I was when I first heard that news, right? I was getting ready to sit down and eat breakfast with my mom when I looked up at the television screen and it said breaking news, 13 students killed. And I remember immediately putting my food down and looking at my mom, and tears began to form in my eyes. And I got that feeling of the nauseousness in the pit of my stomach. And I just looked at my mom and I looked back at the television screen, and under my breath, I just kept mumbling the words, how? How? Why? Why did this have to happen? Why did two students feel so helpless and so hopeless that they feel like they had nowhere to turn? And they didn't have the intention just to harm, but to kill their classmates. Like, how did this happen? And I didn't have the best high school experience. I didn't have a great middle school experience, right? But never in my wildest dreams did I ever consider walking onto my campus with the intention to harm my classmates or my teachers. And all I could do that entire day and for the days after was just ask, why did this happen? And as you can imagine, when the news got a hold of this story, all of the world was asking why. And so the news, they went and found all these different so-called experts, right? And they paraded all of these experts on their television shows, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, excuse me. And they asked these experts their expert opinions on how and why this could happen. And yeah, these experts, you see, they gave us their expert opinions. But how many of you know school shootings, teen suicides, injustices, inequality, racial tensions, so many of these same things are happening every single day in schools just like yours, in communities just like yours, in towns just like yours. They're happening every single day all around us. And despite you all being right smack dab in the middle of it, you know what we never hear? We never hear the news coming to students like you and asking you what's going on in your life. We never see them taking you all serious. And you see, we believe that's a mistake because, like I said, you're the ones living it. You're the ones right smack dab in the middle of it and experiencing so much of it. And so that's why at Teen Truth, our entire mission is to create a platform to help elevate your voice and to help elevate your story so that your story, your truth can be heard. And that's when we decided to do something about it, right? After Columbine, we said enough is enough. We can't keep going on like this. And so that's when we recruited 5 high school students from the state of California. And we gave these 5 students cameras and we told them, listen, there's no rules to this project. There's nothing off limits to this project. There's nothing you can do or you can't do, right? All that we asked them to do is to take those cameras into their schools, into parties, onto the streets, sporting events, wherever they went, to take those cameras and give us a raw, honest look at what it's like to be a young adult. And that's what these students did. They documented their life for an entire year. And we took what they did and we took what they said, raw, uncut, and we made a film about it. Our Teen Truth feature film has racked up millions of views around the world. And unfortunately, as much as I would love to show you this film today, I don't have the time just to show it to you. But I am, because of the success of this film, we've been able to go on and make more films. We made a film about bullying. We made films about drug and alcohol abuse. We made films about body shaming and self-esteem issues. Just recently, check this out. We made a film about parenting. We gave cameras to students and we told the students that they could go into their homes and tell their parents how to be better parents, tell their families how they could be better families. And we've seen, because of COVID-19 and schools being shut down and students spending more time at home, we've seen the increase of popularity of our parents' film. I don't have the time to show you the full film, but I'm going to show you a trailer from this film. But before I show you the trailer to this film, I want you to think about 2 things as I talk or as you watch this film, okay? First one, I want you to ask yourself as you're watching and as you're listening to this short film, can you relate to anything that's being said? Or do you know somebody who can? Can you relate to anything that's being said? Or do you know somebody who can? Secondly, if I was going to give you a camera today and gave you permission to be open and honest about what's going on in your life and what you feel, what story would you tell? What would be your truth? All right, so let's just check out this short film.
have an okay relationship with my mom.
I really don't have a good relationship with my mom.
I don't talk to my mom one bit, like, ever.
My dad's more of a money thing, but I don't see too much of him.
My dad, I like hardly ever get to see him. And my dad, like, honestly, it's like mostly like fighting, arguing. I get grounded.
Our whole entire relationship is like nothing.
They weren't even there for me at all.
What are we having for dinner is like the most connection we have.
I grew up with the babysitter or the childcare center.
I was in daycare till like kindergarten, and then when I was in kindergarten, I went to daycare after school.
I would have loved to have one of my parents ask me, how are you feeling?
I just feel like I'm always looking for my mom and other people. That's it.
That was a heavy statement right there at the end, right? The young lady, she says, I just feel like I'm always looking for my mom and other people. It doesn't get much deeper than that, right? Now, I know because of COVID-19, like I said, you all are spending more time at home. And I know for some of you that's good and that's great, right? You probably have a healthy relationship with your siblings, with your parents, and you have a great family that loves and supports you, and that's amazing. But I also know that there might be some of you watching today that's just not the case. And maybe you don't feel supported by your friends or by your family or by your siblings. And because of that, maybe now more than ever before, you feel more all alone. You feel more rejected. You feel more abandoned. I completely understand that. And I'm so sorry if that's what you're experiencing right now. Regardless if you have a great relationship or a not so great relationship, I think that more than ever before, this time period in our life, it's revealed to us just how important relationships really are to us, just how important connection really is to us, right? And also, in addition to that, this time period, it's created so much havoc and stress in our lives, right? We're dealing with pressures that we've never really dealt with at levels we've never experienced before. We're all dealing with different types of emotional stress and emotional pressures in life, right? Our lives, your life has been turned upside down. Things that have never happened before, you're now experiencing it for the first time. And I don't know about you all, but when I'm experiencing something and the pressure is really high and I feel the stress of it all, it's so easy for me to think that I'm the only one going through it. Even now, as an adult, I still think sometimes when I'm going through something, a hard time or a challenge in life, I think that I'm the only one going through it, right? And I think there are those times when we're going through something in life, when we're dealing with the pressures of life and the stress of life, whatever it might be, because we think we're the only ones going through it, what is our natural inclination to do? What do? Oftentimes, what I find myself doing is hiding behind this mask. Hiding behind this mask, this outward-facing mask where everybody out here thinks that my world is great and that I'm good to go and everything is just amazing in life. But inside here, it's a different story. We're dealing with all these pressures, and it's so easy that on the outside, everything looks great, but on the inside, it's really not. It's so easy to pretend and fake our way through life. And when you think about this, let's just get real. We do this for so many different reasons. We don't want to let people down. Maybe we don't want people, our friends or our family members or our parents to be disappointed in us. We don't want people to think that we are weak and that we don't have what it takes, whatever it might be. But we hide behind this mask. And if I can be honest with you all, I've perfected my ability to hide behind a mask for so long in my life, acting like everything is okay. But on the inside, I was crying out for help. And if you've ever done that before, maybe you're doing that now. There's no shame in it, and it's okay. I'm not judging you. But what I am saying is, you know how heavy of a burden it is to walk through life pretending to be somebody, pretending to be something that you're not. Over time, that begins to take a toll on your life. Over time, that begins to get heavier and heavier and heavier. And that's why I love Teen Truth so much, because Teen Truth really is all about students like you beginning to realize that it doesn't have to be that way. Teen Truth is beginning to realize that, on social media, we hear all these different things about authenticity and vulnerability and live your life and just be you. And that's amazing, right? But how many of you know we can talk a big game and we can still spend most of our lives hiding behind a mask? But teen truth is what happens when students like you begin to realize that, you know what? I'm me, and it's enough. Just because I'm going through things in life, just because things have happened to me, just because I've made mistakes or the failures or whatever it might be, none of that defines who I am. I'm still me, and I'm still enough. Teen truth is what happens when students just like you begin to realize that, you know what, the mental health challenges, maybe you're out there dealing and battling depression day in and day out. Maybe you're running to the bathroom and hiding the fact that you're having anxiety attacks or panic attacks. I get it and I see you. But teen truth is what happens when students realize that any of the mental health challenges that you might be facing in life does not determine what you can or cannot do in this world. It does not determine who you are in this life. And that's why I love teen truth so much. So right now, all around the country, right, students are really beginning to understand what it looks like and what it feels like to take off that mask and to live a brave and to live a vulnerable life, to live an authentic life. And you know what's happening? Because let's get real, that's scary. It's scary to take off the mask and to act like everything is okay. It's scary to show who you really are in your battles and your struggles in life, right? Because we think as soon as we show the world what's really going on in our lives, we're so convinced that people will reject us even more. We're so convinced that people will label us or judge us, disconnect us from their lives. But do you know what really happens? Not only does it change your life, and it allows you to take off that burden that you've been carrying for so long, but it also gives other people the permission to do the same. Because there are people out there right now, regardless if they're walking around with a smile on their face, regardless of how close you might be to them, there are people right now going through a hard and challenging time in life. And on the outside, everything looks great, but on the inside, it's just not the case. And when you find the courage and when you find the strength to open up and to be real and honest and authentic about what you're going through, because you realize that none of it defines who you are literally handing friends, classmates, other people a permission slip to do the same thing in their lives, a permission slip to be open and honest about what's going on in their lives. And that changes everything. Now, listen, I didn't grow up in Colorado. I didn't go to school where you are going to school. But as I know, especially with everything happening in our world today, you all are probably facing a lot of different pressures. And like I said, it's so easy to feel like you're all alone. So I'm just asking right now, if you can just have 5 seconds of courage, 5 seconds of courage, and in the chat box, if you've been dealing with some sort of stress, whether it's with parents or friends or grades, whatever it might be, some sort of stress or pressure in life, if you've been going through something in life, can you just do me a favor and just write it in the chat box? Let me know what you've been going through and let other people who are tuning in and watching realize that they are not alone either. Disappointing parents, school is stressful. That's right. Unrealistic expectations. I feel you. Worrying about getting all A's, parents, and grades. Just a couple more. Pressure to do well in school and in sports. Problems with your step parents. Finding balance in life. Feel sad when you let your parents down. Feeling like things are out of your control. Being somebody that you're not. Maybe 5 more seconds if there's anybody else that wants to tune in here. Trouble with your parents, a lot of those, right? You're not alone if you're having a hard time at home. I promise you that. Thank you all for just tuning in here, and thank you for telling me what you're going through in life. If we were in a gymnasium or in school together, I would give you all a round of applause, because it takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of courage to open up and to be honest and talk about the things going on in your life. So To everybody who did say something, I just sincerely want to say thank you for sharing. And I love Teen Truth because, like you all said, you all are facing all these different types of pressures. And I'm here today to help give you permission to be open and honest about the things that you're going on through in your life, to push back against that pressure. Just think about this for a second. Like, go in your own head and think about what would it look like to wake up tomorrow and not worry about disappointing your family? What would it look like to wake up tomorrow and not worry about having to pretend to be somebody that you're not? Think about the freedom. Think about how easy that would feel. It would feel amazing, right? It would feel so, so amazing. And that's why I'm here today, is to give you the permission to do that. And I know it's hard and I know it's challenging, right? But here's what the truth of the matter is. When we don't open up and talk about the things going on in our lives, when we suppress the truth, when we deny what's really happening in our lives, how many of you have ever felt like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to lose it. I'm going to explode, right? All the pressure is building up and building up and building up, and you just want to scream. I get it. And that's what happens when we suppress and deny and we hide behind these masks and we don't be open and honest about really how we feel. More importantly, when we're not open and honest about how we really feel, that's when we begin to make mistakes or decisions that can not only affect us today, but could affect us for the rest of our lives. So I grew up in a small town in Texas, and from an early age, right, I knew I wanted to do something with my life. I had goals and I had aspirations, probably similar to some of the goals and aspirations that you all have. And I remember this one day specifically, I ran into the kitchen. My mom's back was to me. She was washing dishes at the sink. And I said, Mom. And she said, what, son? And I said, I know what I want to do in life. I know what I want to be. She said, that's great. What is it? And I said, Mom, more than anything, I want to get a Division I college football scholarship. She said, that's great. And I said, I'm not done yet. She said, go on. And I said, Mom, I also want to play in the NFL. And I remember as soon as I said those words, right, my mom finished washing the dish and she put it down on the counter next to her and she turned off the water and she was wiping her hands dry as she turned and looked at me. And I still remember the look on her face. It was this look of compassion, but also concern. And she just stared at me for a few seconds and she said, Caleb, I need to tell you something. I said, yeah, Mom, what's up? She goes, I will support you in every way possible when it comes to you achieving your goals and dreams in life, but I need you to know it's going to cost you. I said, what do you mean cost me? I was just a little kid. I was like, Mom, I don't have any money. What are you talking about? It's going to cost me how much? I'll start saving up. She goes, no, Caleb, it's not going to cost you like that. I said, okay, what's up? How's it going to cost me? She goes, Caleb, it's going to cost you in time. It's going to cost you in relationships. It's going to cost you maybe in friendships. You're going to have to make sacrifices in life. You're going to have to say no to people, and people might say things about you, or people might do things to you behind your back. They might make up lies about you. Whatever it might be, you're going to have to make sacrifices. Are you willing to count the cost? I said, Mom, whatever it takes, because I knew deep down in here, this is what I wanted to do. This is what I wanted to accomplish early on in my life. And she said, I'm with you every step of the way. And as I got older, right, all these hopes and dreams, they stayed with me. When I got into high school, that's when it began to get a little bit more challenging. Because when my so-called friends or my peers or my teammates on the weekends were out partying and drinking or doing drugs, guess where I was? I was in the gym training. When my classmates were in school and disrupting classes and getting in trouble in classes, I was in the library studying. I wouldn't partake in any sort of those things that could potentially land me in trouble inside of school or outside of school, because I had dreams, right? And so I had to have these hard boundaries in life. I drew a line in the sand, and I told myself at an early age, I would not do things that could possibly jeopardize the things I wanted to accomplish in life. And maybe some of you have experienced this before, right? Then over time, some of the classmates or some of your peers will get together and they'll start saying things like, you know, Caleb thinks he's better than everybody else. Caleb's too good for all of us. Caleb's too cool for school. right? He doesn't want to hang out with all of us because he thinks he's better than everybody else. And over time, what started to be something so seemingly innocent and kind of like a joke, it got increasingly worse over time, day in and day out. Like, don't get me wrong. My classmates loved me on a Friday night when I was scoring the game-winning touchdown and leading us to a state championship. They loved me then. But not a moment went by that as soon as I walked off the field, there weren't these nasty rumors being spread about me. There weren't these nasty lies being told about me. One day I walked into school and my face had been photoshopped on this picture, and these pictures were printed out and plastered all around the school, just aimed to make fun of me. My senior year, I couldn't even really drive to school because my car kept getting vandalized. Now, I don't say any of these things that you feel sorry about me or feel sorry for me. I say this because this is my reality. This is what I was going through. And over time, this took a toll on my life, right? I started to ask myself, like, if I can't show up and just be me and work hard for something that I want and be accepted for who I am, what's the point? If I can't just do the things that I want to do and have people root for me and cheer for me, what's the point of even trying? How much longer do I have to walk the halls feeling all alone, feeling rejected, feeling humiliated, feeling abandoned? I just couldn't do it anymore. When I was 16, despite being the star athlete at my school, I wrote my first suicide note. I just didn't want to live anymore. I was done with the pain that I was carrying day in and day out of not fitting in, not being accepted for who I was, for being labeled and judged, for having lies told about me day in and day out, for being humiliated in front of my classmates and my peers. Luckily, a close family member intervened at the last moments before I made that decision. And I'm standing in front of you all today and I'm telling you my story. And despite those 4 years being the hardest 4 years of my life, not even joking, I was able to persevere, go on, and guess what? I got that Division I college football scholarship. Not only that, not just any college, I got a chance to go to the United States Military Academy at West Point, a prestigious school, right? And at West Point, I knew that when I went to West Point, that I was going to have to graduate West Point. If you don't know anything about it, when I was going to graduate West Point, I was going to have to become an officer in the United States Army, which I was so excited about. My second year at West Point, I became one of the top 10 college football players in all of the country. Top 10 college footballs in all of the country. And that's when the Army got together and they created this new policy. This new policy basically said that if I was good enough to make it in the NFL, I could play in the NFL and also serve in the Army simultaneously. They were going to give me this opportunity to do both. I was ecstatic. So I go through the next couple of years, and my senior year, I have another incredible senior year, and I ball out on the football field, and guess what? Everything that I had worked for came down to this one moment. Matter of fact, instead of me telling you, I'm going to show you this short clip that I have on my computer. Check this out.
He may not have to travel overseas and be safety for a nation.
With the 218th pick, Detroit has selected Caleb Campbell, defensive back, Army.
Well, the 2008 draft is in the books. Welcome into Radio City. Trey Wingo here with Ron Jaworski, Chris Carter, Chris Mortensen, and Mel Kipa Jr. Listen, Caleb Campbell being selected by the Detroit Lions out of West Point may have been the feel-good story of the second day of the draft and maybe the entire draft.
There it is. All of the hard work, all of the resilience and the perseverance of showing up day in and day out. It came down to that one moment, and my childhood dreams of getting drafted in the NFL became a reality. I was ecstatic. As you can imagine, I was celebrating with family and with friends, right? And I was doing this, and I had a couple of months before I had to report to Detroit to start playing football in the NFL. And check this out. The day that I was supposed to play my first time in the NFL, I was also scheduled that morning to sign my first NFL contract. Everything, this is like the big day for athletes, right? I'm about to sign my first NFL contract. I'm about to get some money in the bank. I'm about to ball out in the NFL, playing in front of 80,000 people on Sunday afternoon. I was ecstatic. And then something happened that I was not prepared for.
He may not.
2 weeks ago, the Army made a decision to revise their interpretation of a Department of Defense policy regarding athletes going professional, as opposed to serving 2 years active duty. This information was not relayed to Caleb Campbell or the team that drafted him in the 7th round just a few months earlier, the Detroit Lions, until the eve before their camp.
Second Lieutenant Caleb Campbell was blindsided by the Army when he was just hours away from signing a contract with the Detroit Lions.
In a matter of seconds, my life was turned upside down. I didn't know and did not expect for that to happen, right? I'm getting ready just in a few short hours to sign my first NFL contract, and instead I get a phone call and I was notified that my chances of playing the NFL are now over. I was devastated. Everything that I had been waiting for so long in my life was just ripped away from me. You know, honestly, I know that all of you have not yet been, you haven't been drafted, you haven't played in the NFL, whatever it might be, but I think you all experience that same level of pain when so much of your life, so many of the things that you've worked so hard for this year has also been ripped away from you. Your life has been turned upside down as well. And if I can be honest with all of you, if I can be so honest with all of you, whenever this happened, I didn't know how to handle it. I had all these people coming around. I had all of these expectations that I thought I had to live up to. I was so afraid of making people upset. I was so afraid of disappointing people. I was so afraid of letting people down and not matching their expectations of how I should be or what I should do. I was so afraid. And at the same time, I want to let you guys know something. At the same time, I was angry. I was so mad. I felt lied to. I felt betrayed. I felt taken advantage of. And I was so angry. And everybody was telling me just to move on in life and it's okay. And sure, good and great. But deep down, I was so sad. I was so sad. But at the same time, I was trying to live up to everybody's expectations. And so I put on that mask and I started to hide behind this mask. And that's when I started to act like everything was okay when it really wasn't. And over time, and I started to realize that just because you put on this mask and you suppress and you deny the pain that you feel, the anger, the bitterness, the whatever it might be, just because you hide behind a mask doesn't make the pain go away. And because that pain kept getting worse and worse every single day, that's when for the first time in my life, you see, I turned to drugs and alcohol to numb that pain. To numb that pain that inevitably comes when you hide and you suppress and you deny the truth of what's going on in your life. So almost overnight, getting high in the morning, getting high at night, doing anything and everything I can to numb that pain. And I remember one night after partying, I woke up, I went to sleep that night and I woke up the next morning and I looked at my bedside table and I saw this mixture of alcohol and uppers and downers on my bedside table. And in a moment, it hit me. It hit me like a freight train. I shouldn't be alive. The mixture of alcohol and uppers and downers that were sitting there on my counter that night was enough to stop my heart. And I knew in that moment that I needed help more than ever before. I broke down and I just cried and cried and cried. And that's when I decided to do something that I've never done before and arguably was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. And that's when I decided to ask for help. And don't get me wrong, I was fully prepared for people to judge me and label me and think differently of me. But do you know what happened when I found the courage for the first time in my life to take off that mask and say, hey, here I am. This is me. This is who I really am. This is what I'm going through in life. People actually came closer. People that I didn't even know started to share with me about their own struggles, their own battles, their own addiction challenges that they were facing. And because I found the strength to talk about things in my life, they also felt the permission to do the same in their life. And despite me getting off track there, I was able to surround myself with good people in my life and put me back on track. And 2.5 years later, guess what? I finally fulfilled my dream of playing in the NFL. I got a chance to play with the Detroit Lions, with the Indianapolis Colts, and with the Kansas City Chiefs. Now listen, I don't know any of you personally. I don't know what's going on in your life right now. I don't know the things that have happened to you or the things that you have been through, the pain that you have experienced. But from the bottom of my heart, I want to say, especially if nobody has validated this or if nobody has ever told you this, I'm so sorry for the things that have happened to you. I'm so sorry for the things that are painful that you're going through in life. I am so sorry that you feel like you are all alone, because I don't think anybody should ever have to feel that way. I am so sorry, but I'm also here to tell you that it doesn't have to be that way. All that pain, the burden, the pressure, if we can just come together and find the courage, if we can begin to realize that, you know what, despite being socially apart, that we're still deeply connected with one another and that we are all in this together. And despite you might feeling like you're the only one going through it in life, it's just not the case. That there are other people that are also going through these challenges. And the more that we can all begin to take off the mask, the more we can begin to show other people that they have the permission to do the same, the more we can continue to heal together. It changes your life and it changes everybody else's life as well. We have that power and that opportunity today. You know, I think that we forget that, you know, even though especially this year, we're also, you know, disconnected in a way. We're not connected in the way that we're used to, right? But we as students still have opportunities to take something that's so negative and turn it into a positive. Not too long ago, I was speaking at a conference and I heard this young gentleman speak, and his name is Ryan, and his nickname is Rhino. And I loved Rhino's story so much. I actually want to share it with you all today. So let's watch this short clip. See, this is Rhino. The thing that you need to know about Rhino is Rhino was born with a learning disability. From the beginning, Rhino was an outcast. He was a misfit. He didn't belong. He was that square peg trying to fit in a round hole, made fun of day in and day out. But what I loved about Rhino is Rhino was the most resilient young man that I had ever met in my life. Rhino, from an early age, demonstrated what we all strive for. Rhino didn't care what other people thought about him. And what Rhino also loved is he loved sports, specifically basketball. He was one of those basketball geniuses that could literally tell you every stat from every player from every game in the history of basketball. And when Rhino was a senior, he decided that he wanted to fulfill his dream of playing on the basketball team. He went out for the team, and everybody close to him said, "No, Ryan, don't do it. You're going to get cut, and it's going to make matters worse for you." And he said, "I don't care." Sure enough, Rhino went out for the basketball team, and he got cut. When he was leaving the gym that day, the coach came up to him and said, "Rhino, if you do everything you possibly can, day in and day out, maybe, just maybe, you'll get a chance to put on that jersey." And that's what happened. Senior year, last game of the season, Rhino got to put on that jersey. At halftime of this game, the teammates went up to the coach and said, "Coach, we need to put Rhino in." The coach was like, "Are you kidding me? This is a playoff determining game. If we win, we're in. If we lose, we're out. We can't put Rhino in." The team came together and said, "Coach, we don't care. We want Rhino to play." And sure enough, into the game, what we see right here is Rhino gets put into the game. Everybody knows how long and how hard he worked for this moment. Everybody was on their feet, cheering at the top of their lungs. And we see at the end of the game here, Rhino is number 12. And they're driving the ball down the court. There's about 10 seconds left in the game, right? And Rhino's at the top of the key, number 12, 5, 4, 3. He moves to get open. 1, at the buzzer, he shoots. He scores. Everybody in this gymnasium loses their mind. They go absolutely nuts because they know how much this meant to Ryan. They know how hard he worked for this moment. And what I love about this is the football team, arguably the most popular kid in school, they run down and they put Ryan on their shoulders and they carry him off the court that day like a hero that he was. You know, when Rhino still talks about this day, he will tell you that this was one of the best days of his life. And it's because students like you decided to take something negative, a negative experience that Rhino was having day in and day out when people would label him and judge him. They decided to come together and create something positive out of that negative moment. And I tell you that story because like Teen Truth exists because of something so challenging and so hard and so heartbreaking. Like Columbine, we were able to rally together and create something positive from that. Like my story, as I face my own challenges, my own mental health challenges, my own struggles with addiction, whatever it might have been, I was able to take something so negative when my life was turned upside down and create something positive. And I'm challenging all of you because I know you all, your life has been turned upside down. And so much of what you have experienced in this year, there's a lot of negativity, a lot of stress, a lot of pressure. And I'm challenging you to dig deep and to ask, how can you begin to make something positive from this place? But here's the deal. We cannot make something positive unless we learn how to take care of ourselves. So it's important that we realize that when our world is turned upside down, first and foremost, we have to take care of ourselves. And the way that we take care of ourselves is by finding the courage to open up and talk about the things going on in our lives. And I don't know your family situation. I don't know what your home life looks like, but just for 5 seconds right now, all I want you to do is I want you to think of one person, the first person that comes to mind that you feel safe enough to talk to. Think about that one person and write that person's name down. Write that person's name down, whoever it might be. Who's that one person that you can talk to? And I want you guys to hear me when I say this, okay? It's scary to go up and to ask somebody for help. That takes a lot of courage. So I see you there and I validate that. It is scary, but there's ways that we can go about it. All you got to say is, Mr., Mrs., whoever it might be, I'm going through something in life. No, you don't have to write it in chat, right? So sorry. Write it on paper at your house. All you got to do is say, I'm going through something in life. Can I talk to you about it? Do you have the time to talk to me about it? And if they say no, ask if there's a time that you can schedule to sit down with them. If they say yes, that's great. But find that person that you can talk to in life, because I promise you, it's going to change your life whenever you stop carrying that burden that you've been carrying. Like I told you earlier, life does not have to be that way. You guys have been so amazing. I hope you got something out of this. We still got a few minutes. So if you have any questions, I will try to go through here and answer a few questions, okay? If you guys have any questions, let me know. Hope you guys got something. What's something in the day? What's something that keeps you going every day? That's a good question. I think something that keeps me going every day is really just, showing myself some self-compassion. I think sometimes we have these unrealistic expectations of who we think we should be and what we think we should be doing, right? We have people demanding things of us all the time. And sometimes the people who are hardest on us is ourselves. Sometimes we are the most hard on ourselves. And so what keeps me going all the time, every single day, is learning how to give myself some grace and to show myself some compassion. Maybe, can I be honest with you all today? Today, I've had a kind of hard day. I've had a really challenging day today. I didn't really want to do much. I have so many things that I need to do. I just couldn't find the energy to do it. At one point in time in my life, I would be really mad at myself. But now that doesn't help anything. Doesn't help anybody. I learned to just hate myself more. That's never helped me. So now I'm just learning how to show myself some compassion every single day. And I think you should do the same. What are a few ways that we can be vulnerable other than opening up to someone? If a friend is going through something, how can we help them? If a friend's going through something, maybe just slip them a note. Just write something down, say, hey, listen, if you're going through something, well, you don't have to talk to me about it, but I just want you to know that I'm here for you. Another way to be vulnerable, just express how you feel with writing in a journal. Write a poem, write a story, write something. Just express how you feel. Get creative on whatever that might be. It's a big one right there. I don't really let people help me. It makes me feel weak. I'm just going to say I completely relate to that, and I completely understand that. Until I learned that it actually takes more courage and more strength to open up and to allow people in to help me than it takes for me to do life alone. I know what it feels like to feel weak. I get that. But I realize that I'm actually my strongest. I'm actually demonstrating more strength in life when I actually let people in. Think about that for a little bit. When I let my friends help me, I think it makes it worse, so it's harder to open up. Sarah, I'm so glad you brought this up. Here's what I'm not telling you to do. This is really important, so listen to me when I say this, okay? I'm not telling you to open up to everyone or anyone. That's not smart. Because you know what? Sometimes people are mean people and people do mean things. I've had it, and I'm sure some of you have experienced when you open up to somebody and they use that against you. That's just downright mean. So what I am saying is, I'm not saying you have to open up to anyone and everyone, but I'm saying you need to find one person that you can trust, that you can feel safe to. You don't have to open up to everyone. Build a relationship with them, earn their trust, have them earn your trust. And then you can slowly start talking about things going on in your life. But it never helps just to kind of spew it out there for anyone and everyone, because that's when we get hurt more. And that's when we shut down even more. So that's not the case. So where do you start if you don't have these connections, people you can talk to and get help from in the first place? I totally understand that, right? And I think that a great place to start is, what are some things on some hobbies that you like to do? Find some things that you like to do and then kind of go look. And I know it's hard right now because of COVID and everything, but things are going to change, right? And find maybe clubs or communities that do around the thing that you enjoy to do. Find some people who are on the same hobby as you, right? There's all these different opportunities to connect with people online that do and to like the same hobbies that you do and like. And so that's a great place to just, if you don't feel like you have somebody you can connect to find like-minded people who share the same interest as you and begin to build a friendship with, right? But there's always maybe a coach or a teacher out there, a guidance counselor, or a principal, somebody that you feel that you have built a relationship with that's there to open up. I think sometimes we tell ourselves too that there's just nobody to open up to. Why? Because there's kind of a self-protection mechanism that keeps us safe from the vulnerability of opening up. But is that really the truth? Can you really not think of one person that you can't open up to? And here's the kicker. Now, if you can't think of one person, now you've got one person. That's me. So you can find me on Instagram, Caleb, CALEB _Campbell, like Campbell Soup, Caleb _ Campbell. I'm going to write it in the chat right now. Okay. And if you all want to find me on Instagram, if you're going through something, having a challenging time, send me a DM. All right, guys, it's 3:30. My time is up here. Thank you all so much for tuning in and being here today. If you got any questions, send me a note on Instagram. Otherwise, good luck with the rest of your school years, and I hope you all have a happy holidays. Thank you all.